are right now, at this very moment, the most hated person in America. 8 counts of treason.
The White House confirming this evening, American forces have struck Berlin.
This is Berlin calling.
With the right words, a war can be won before the first rifle is loaded. That is propaganda.
What chance do you have?
Hey, Meadow. Hey, Swen. Oh, both of you are together. That's perfect.
Together, of course. We're a team.
There you go. That makes it so much easier. I thought you were going to be pinging in from the other room, but hey,
No.
this feels like real life finally. Like two people together, actual in the same space, not virtually, in different locations.
Things are certainly getting back to normal, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'd say so. Well, I'm so excited to have you two. Where are you guys at?
We're currently in Malibu right now.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I'm in Chicago. It's humid and hot, but tomorrow it's going to be back to the 60s. So you know how it goes.
No, we've had beautiful weather out here. It's sunny and perfect.
I
So
miss
come
LA.
join us.
I miss LA. It's been I've been here for the pandemic with family, throughout the past year. So looking forward to finally getting back there now that things are pretty much opening up in a good way.
Right.
Well, I'm glad. Okay, we have another visitor here enjoying our conversation. Wow, so much to talk to you guys about. So I'm excited about this. I've seen the film. First of all, I mean, did Pacino reveal that he's actually a lawyer on the side, or is that a fact? Because hell, I'd hire him if I needed a case or anything. What a pitch.
He'd be the best lawyer in real life, I think.
Yes. He definitely can go. I mean, he did 15-minute takes without a break, 4 of them in a row for the closing argument scene. We were just awestruck.
Yeah.
For an actor to be able to go 15 minutes straight without a break, without a cut, just full on him doing his thing, the man would have made a great lawyer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was that like one shot or one take?
One shot,
Oh
4
my-
times.
So
he
4
did.
times they used 2 different cameras to
They
get the
did
different
whole
angles.
thing. The entire closing argument was one take.
Yeah.
So tell me he's not the greatest actor like ever.
That's unbelievable. Serious. I cannot believe that. I can imagine you guys just sitting there like, when is the cut coming, right? At some
No,
point.
but that's the thing. We all knew what the script was. We knew the
Yeah.
lines. We'd gone over it. And every single time that he did it, we were like,
Wow.
more, please, more.
Yeah, it was like watching the greatest play you've ever seen. The audience, we had extras because it was a courtroom scene, lots of extras. And they're all in costume, very uncomfortable clothes and everything, perfect costumes from that time. But they're all just, because he's so amazing. He really is. And they all said, this was great. I would have paid to do this. The extras were saying that. They were just like, wow, we got a true legendary moment and we watched it. And they
Wow.
were just so pleased.
That's unbelievable. That really is to hear these tidbits kind of to come around, and to make it so conversational. It was a very conversational kind of hearing in a way too. And wow, that's unbelievable. Wanted to ask you guys, because you mentioned it being like a play. This movie to me felt like a play in a lot of ways. Like I could see this theatrically, totally like on a stage happening in so many ways. Did it ever felt when you guys were on set that did it seem like it was almost a play in a lot of ways too? Because the courtroom's a major setting in this film, besides the jail cell that you're in for a bit there, Meadow. But did it feel ever like a play? Because I'm watching it, it certainly seemed like it to me.
Definitely. Everything was very real. Those bars are real.
Those bars were
the-
metal bars. The doors really locked.
Yeah.
Wow.
The courtroom was built just for us in Puerto Rico, so that courtroom's never been used.
And it's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, but it feels very real because everything is there. And, there's every detail. They put a lot of, like, my clothing was absolutely from that time period.
Really?
A few pieces were custom made to what she had, but if it wasn't custom made, it was absolutely from the 1940s. So I was really wearing their underwear, their very uncomfortable bras, their things. And we were all very much like in a play because it was so.
Well, I mean, we
true
had
to the
rehearsed too,
moments.
right?
Yeah.
We rehearsed before too, because Al was very hands-on because he loved the story, he loved the script. So he wanted to do everything possible to make it as great as it is. So we actually had rehearsals with him beforehand and with the other actors. We got together and we had the liberty of creating before the actual day of shooting. So on the day of shooting, we had a couple of takes, but it wasn't sort of like your standard movie where we had 5, 6, 7, 8 takes. It was sort of like 2 or 3 takes per
and they
angle
would
and
be
per
rolling
setup.
takes where you would do the whole performance.
So yeah, it definitely felt like
It felt like a play because we didn't do the okay, cut, let's do close-ups. It wasn't like that. You did rolling takes. And you
That's
just
interesting. How was it for you guys as performers? Did you enjoy that kind of style in a sense, or was it something new for both of you?
I mean, for me, once you put on those clothes, like Meadow said, they were the period piece clothes. The ties were only this long, the pants were all the way up here,
Oh,
you
man.
had the suspenders and the whole thing. So once you put on the clothes, once you stepped foot in that jail cell, it was dark, it was musty, it smelled. They filled it with smoke and all that stuff to give it the ambiance.
Wow.
You stepped into that world, and then when you were done with that scene, you stepped out of it again. So for us, I mean, for me, I loved working that way.
I had a little more trouble getting out of character. I think I lived Mildred the whole time I was in Puerto Rico, because I was so deep into her. So Mildred went with me everywhere. I was Mildred all the time.
Literally, I mean, the look of it. I wanted to jump back to you, Meadow. You had the attire pretty much the whole time. Like you mentioned, everything was sort of tight. And what was it kind of wearing that sort of clothing that you're not really used to wearing in modern age? Did it make you feel a certain way having the clothes on, aside even from a character, just as a woman in general having?
Yes, their underwear is very confined. And very, the pantyhose were very strange, and everything is different. We don't even hardly wear pantyhose anymore as women.
Right.
Now, everything was very, it kind of made you hold yourself a different way because the way the bras were, the way the underwear was all up in here and all over, and so many layers of it. You kind of had to hold yourself very erect. So I found myself standing very strong, and that's also Mildred too. So I was standing very, very strong and walking very, very almost regally, because the underwear made you do it.
It literally put your posture up to it and everything,
It's like, you're kind of like walking with a very almost military, everything up and back and it's just the way the underwear was. And the clothes were also very, very rigid too. They kind of pushed
and the
you.
shoes.
Yes. So you kind of had to walk that way, and it's part of that time, that time in history.
I found this so interesting that the book, this is based on a novel, and Vance wrote basically the script for it, and along with Michael, I believe. But you play you play his father's character, right, in the film. How was the interaction like to learn from the son, in a sense, who wrote the novel, and obviously has that relationship with his father, to have you portray him? How was that kind of the dialogue between you guys and kind of discussions to play that character?
I mean, at first it was terrifying. You get this script that's based off a real person,
right?
And his son was there. He was able to help me with things, but that is nerve-wracking. I don't want to disappoint the son, and I want to make his father look as great as he was. But on the other hand, it was a great learning tool because I was able to ask, how did your father do this? What did he say? We had the book of the firsthand accounts, and then even better, we had the videotapes of Billy Owen recording his firsthand accounts in the courtroom. So I was able to watch those. And unfortunately, 2 weeks before we were going to start shooting, Billy Owen actually passed away
in his 90s.
And I feel like part of me went, okay, the script is in good hand. My story will be told by the right person, by the right people. And I trust that my son will take over. And it was just an honor for me to do that. And it was Vance, and we all became great friends after the movie. So
Vince was on the set all the time. We had many. He was staying in the same hotel we stayed in,
Yeah.
Vanderbilt,
Oh, that's cool.
in Puerto Rico. So we saw him all the time, talked to him a lot, ate with him a lot. Very sweet man. Very sweet man.
But I think that in the end, hopefully, I did him justice, and he's proud looking down upon us.
I believe so. You know, having Vince there in a sense, but what I liked about the film too was that you saw the clips, the real life clips too. Like this isn't a made up story that just gives you that kind of the authenticity when you're watching the black and white kind of footage too of this happening. What sort of, in a sense, did you guys do like any studying, or did you base a lot of things on the novel, or did you do a lot of research outside of seeing different footage, whatnot, or newspaper clippings? What sort of kind of research did you do on your characters individually? Because you are playing real people in a sense, but people that are, you know, that been removed, I mean, in a sense from history, you know, in history.
There's still some places where you can hear Mildred's voice on tape.
Well, I think we
And-
had about a stack about this thick printed out
Wow.
of
Pictures
newspaper articles and
and-
pictures
yes.
about her. And then we also did a trip to Berlin. That was
Yes,
interesting.
That was great. We actually walked in some of the buildings where she worked, like where she recorded. We went in that building. We were on the steps of it. I have some pictures, and
Wow.
we
We
went.
really literally went to the place that she would walk to every single day when she went to work, to the broadcast studio. So that was
Yes.
pretty neat. I mean, I think the only difference between then and now is now there's German flags flying, and before there was the Nazi flags flying.
Yeah, and you can see where the flags were. They didn't take down the little loop things on the sides of the buildings where, if you look at the old pictures, you could see where the swastikas used to be, and there's still the little things that hold them, just no flag. But it's very much the way it was. So we walked around her neighborhood because she was within walking distance. So we got used to where she would have come from on her walk to work, and we saw the buildings, and we spent time in Berlin. We were there about 4 days with the director. At the
Wow.
village. So yeah, we had a great time, and we really got to know Berlin, which is a lovely city, a lot of history, a lot of intensity. But what a
That's
city.
phenomenal. That must give you some real life feelings, you know, being part of that and kind of living through walking to these same locations. I could only imagine that would just only kind of really make it personal, so much more and real.
Pretty neat feeling to be able
Yeah.
to do a movie that's based in that space and still be able to see all those original buildings and sort of the way it used to be.
Yeah.
Was there any sort of contact? Did you guys either through Michael or anyone make contact with her family? Or is there any sort of tie-in with her family members currently about this film and role or anything like that?
Mildred was alone, and Mildred didn't have
Wow.
really anyone.
Well, she had her love that was in
Who
Germany,
died.
but he
Right.
passed away. But other
Yes.
than that, I mean, she went to the
She went to a nunnery
Yeah.
after everything, and she was sort of a solo person, which is part of the reason why I felt like the story needed to be told. She was really undefended and sort of a scapegoat, in my opinion. But you can see the movie, see for yourself what you think.
Yeah.
But there is no one to tell her story. There are no children, there's no family. She went to Germany chasing love and you know, to have a better life there, American citizen living over there. And she got caught up in the war. And really, there's no one surviving from her side to tell anything.
Mm-mm.
The
Oh,
only
that's
one
really sad. You know, when you think about it, there's no like roots or ties, and like the isolation of this individual. We see kind of what she has to go through, kind of literally on her own. You know, with this lawyer only kind of her on her side in a sense, and she still doesn't trust him fully. But to see that there's no support, and then now there's no family roots, that's really kind of that's sad. You know, an overall
I think
aspect of
it was sort of our job when the script came to us to tell it, because I mean, in school, I don't remember ever. I mean, she might have been like a little glimpse in the text, but everybody knows Tokyo Rose and what she did, but nobody really knew what
That's a
Mildred
sad
Gillard
story.
did. So it was sort of our job and our duty. And Meadow, I think, did an amazing job portraying her, and I think she can be proud of how she is portrayed in the movie, and hopefully people will learn a thing or two.
Yeah, and it's sort of an artifact, now that you guys created a visual artifact. What, like you mentioned, I don't remember studying that either in history or anything like that, but it's significant. When you look at this film, you learn a lot, about what sort of impact it had, and just general. I mean, for this to be this sort of case of this magnitude, it must have been significant, on both fronts. So it's just interesting that the story hasn't really been told or talked about much until now. You would imagine it would have.
Yeah, I think women were seen in a different light back then, and the real Me Too thing, of course, hadn't happened, and women like her were swept under the rug, so to speak, especially since she had no family. It was easy for her to be seen in certain ways and be portrayed in ways that we didn't believe was fair to her. So this is her chance to be seen in the most realistic and truthful light we could give it, so that people can make up their own mind what they think about this lady, Mildred, who I got so very close to, studying her and learning about her and looking at her pictures every day and reading about her months before. We tried to really show who she was and what she went through. And I think history buffs will definitely love it, and other people will too, because she was definitely a strong woman, ahead of her time, a successful woman, but also with some terrible bosses, so to
Definitely a
speak.
story of survival.
Scary
Yes.
bosses. That's
Scary, terrible bosses.
Yes.
Scary bosses. And she came through it. So people can make up their own mind what they think.
Do you guys have I mean, obviously, Meadow, especially playing that character, you kind of lean towards the side, and it seems like you do feel empathy for her and a lot of things that, that was sort of unjust the way things were looked at, and I think you can totally get your own perspective, but it makes sense in a lot of ways to see that, this individual had a lot of stuff against him sort of unfairly in a lot of ways that wouldn't have been like
no
today.
choice. She had zero choice.
Before women had any power.
Right.
So she was trying to create her own career at a time when women didn't have careers. So it was enough that she had a career for people to be a little skeptical of her back then. So the cards were really stacked against her, just by being a woman that was solo, who wasn't married, who was on her own, and her love had died, and she was successful. But
rough childhood too,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a very bad childhood. So she came through a lot, and she did a lot with what she had. And I admire her greatly. And I feel like she was watching us, and there was one moment that I've talked about a little bit where she actually seemed to be on set. Something moved.
Really? At what point?
Michael Polish was asking that they take off all my makeup for a shot where they wanted her to be very plain, no lipstick. And Mildred was never without her lipstick. And this desk thing actually moved to me, and everybody saw it. And the makeup artists were like, I'm not touching her. I'm not touching her, because they believed Mildred was in the room.
Wow.
And Michael was like, I've been haunted by ghosts before. And he just walked off, but they let me keep my lipstick on.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. It was quite a moment.
That's unbelievable. You see, some things are not to be messed with. And certainly
between Mildred and her lipstick.
But that was the only thing that happened, so she must have been happy with the rest of it.
So. Right. Yeah. If that's the only sign, you guys are good. In that case, you did a good telling. I want to touch it. You two have worked together in a lot of films in a sense, and I've seen them too. I'm a Den of Thieves, by the way, Meadow, is one of my favorite all-time movies. And both of you were in After, which is, I love. I know it's like a teen romance movie, but I like it personally. I thought it was awesome. So I'm like, wow, these are recognizable faces that I've seen before. And you work together. What is it kind of like working together? Do you enjoy that process? This isn't the first time in this film.
So for this one, I mean, it was, we were both living these characters in the film, and then we took it home, of course, as well. But I think it was such a vital part of the story that, they do grow I mean, you saw the movie, they grow from, he's this nervous, scared
Mhm.
guy that's talking to one of the biggest stars of the time. I mean, it was all over radio, all over
Yeah.
newspapers. She was the, the biggest deal. And that kind of progresses. And I think without Billy Owen being there, this case might have turned a little bit differently. But it was a fun time being able to work together on such a intense project. And we trust each other, we care for each other, and I think that came across in our performances.
Yeah,
Know that.
great. He was so sweet in this one. And after, he was such a sassy guy. And we loved the fan base. There's such sweet fan base
Oh,
there. But he was so sassy all the time. And after, when we were making After, he was such a bad boy. And it was sexy and cute, but it was nice to have this romantic Billy, sweet guy with the old world charm and manners. That was nice too.
fun.
But we do enjoy working together. I think as a couple, it's so fabulous to be able to work together. And we've really enjoyed the different movies that we've got to do.
Yeah, different roles, different characters. That's so cool. That's not many couples can say that they get to work together and kind of live a different, like, in a sense, character
funny,
out together.
Meadow always jokes, and she says, "Oh, it's so fun. I get a new boyfriend every 2 to 3 months."
Literally.
Sure.
Very true.
Did you guys meet on a set? I'm kind of curious. Did you meet on a?
Ever crossed paths was at a premiere, but we didn't know that later we would become involved. We met at a premiere for the first time, which was a vampire movie that I did many years ago.
Uh-huh.
And then we met again.
A few years later at a restaurant.
And then we met again, and that time it took.
I think that's a sign, like
I mean, it's funny,
Mildred
too,
was giving you signs. I think it was a sign when you guys running into each other
Oh,
constantly.
we ran in, but the funny thing is too, because we were about like 2 months or 3 months into seeing each other, and she brought up this vampire movie, and I was like, because the time between us seeing each other again and the first time, it was a long time, quite a few years, and she had black hair at the time too, so she looked very different. And she brought up this vampire movie, and I go, that sounds really familiar. I went to a premiere where this girl actually came out of a coffin at the premiere, and she goes, "That was me. I came out of the coffin." I was like, there's this crazy woman that for the premiere, she came out of the coffin, and she's like, "I was that crazy woman."
Oh my god, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And we had actually met on the carpet, and he had met the director, who's still a friend.
Yeah.
And we still hang out together all these years later. The director that he met there.
Just a small world.
That's amazing. But you guys give me hope for romance, man. I can't even get a date here or anything. Find any woman who'll go on more than one date with me. But this is so cool that love happens in the most kind of unexpected, unassuming ways too. That is so cool.
And we love working together. And a lot of the times we don't work together, but we still support each other on set, because I mean, it's a rough business. And sometimes you get roles that are, very dark and that take a lot out of you. And it's nice to come home to somebody who's there to care for you and that understands it.
Oh yeah, this is a tough industry. Having spouses and whatnot, if they're doing different professions, it's tough to understand the work and schedule of an actor. It's so up and down and unpredictable, and you're leaving different places and coming back. So I think that's also key to understanding your lifestyle. Both of you can relate to it, so that's kind of great. That's probably helps things to keep intact.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. It is fun to have a new boyfriend, but
yes,
a little getting used to. We did play across from each other in a movie where I was a cop and he was a gangster, and that was
interesting.
We were living together, of course, and the way we related at that time was really funny.
That's awesome.
But, he was a really tough street guy, and he had cornrows and just a crazy look. And everywhere we go, people would treat him strangely because of the cornrows. It's a very ghetto street look, and people felt like he was going to steal from them. They wouldn't let him in our hotel at one point. They're like, "You're not in the right place, buddy. You don't belong here." And we're like, "Yes, he does. He just had his hair done." you know, it was a very interesting
Oh, yeah.
experience, but they're all interesting. We love working together.
Yeah, that's the key.
And
That's
this
such
one
a
was
such
amazing.
you know, I gotta say, Swen, the first thing when I saw this movie, when I started seeing your character, I kid you not, I thought you were, I don't know if you watched Succession ever. I thought you were Nicholas Braun, who plays Greg on Succession for like the first 10 minutes. And then
All
I
right.
realized, because
I'll take it.
yeah, you're a man of so many different looks. Like you mentioned, I've seen you in different work. You can make your look completely different than you. You know what I mean? So I really thought, I'm like, wait, is this Greg from Succession? Like, no, it's not. You know, but that was pretty funny that I noticed that. Final thing, I got to ask you, since I love Den of Thieves, there's a second one in the works. Any of you coming? You're going to be working on that, or
Yes.
both of you?
Both of us, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, awesome. Did it go into production? Any news about when we can expect it?
You should be seeing stills in a little while. It's not
Can't really
started
say
yet.
much,
We're
but
supposed to not tell too much,
Uh-huh.
but yes, you're
It's
going
in the
to love
works.
it. You are going to love the new version. It's really exciting. It's got a lot of action. It's got a lot of fun. Big Nick is the big prick that he always
Yep.
is. And it's a lot of fun. And Sven's character is awesome. You're going to love him. And
and Holly makes her
Holly's got a lot
comeback.
to do in this one, so you'll see a lot of Holly.
Can't wait. Literally, I'm telling you, that's one of my favorite films. And obviously, Meadow, you're in the first one. Swen, you're coming back. You're coming into it. I
I'll be
can't
there.
wait. I need to talk to you guys once it comes out. That's for sure. So
Absolutely,
anytime.
anytime.
loved it. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I enjoyed this film. I thought it was a cool, like, interesting story. Not only a his story, but a human story that was really well portrayed and interesting. And Pacino being the best lawyer, you know, on screen and off screen in any way.
I mean, I love to watch that man yell at someone. He's so awesome as a lawyer, and he just is so on after the right, and you
He's
just
the
can't do
best.
better for a lawyer.
Yeah,
he's
I'm a big
so-
fan of Michael Polish too in his project. So this was a must see for me too. So so
Very
cool.
excited that you liked it, and hope the rest of the world gets to enjoy it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll spread the word, you know, on my end, whatever I can do. So
Thank
hope
you
to
so
talk
much.
to you guys soon. You guys are awesome. I love the vibe you have as a couple, and
you.
hope to see this long lasting into the future on screen and off
Absolutely.
screen.
Thank
so
you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you guys. Bye-bye. Have a great
Bye.
one.
Take care.
We must not sacrifice this woman. Patriotism covering up a lynch mob!